Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of self-talk.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. We're going to be exploring Shad Helmstetter's book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
I love that book.
Yeah, it's a classic, right?
It is.
And it's all about uncovering how, well, the things we tell ourselves, even unconsciously, can actually program our brains, for success or for failure.
That's right, yeah. It's like having this secret code, right,
Yeah.
running in the background of our minds and
hmm
it's shaping our actions, our beliefs, everything.
It's kind of freaky when you think about it, like how much of our lives is actually driven by this hidden self-talk.
It's huge,
Yeah.
absolutely huge. And the really exciting thing is that neuroscience is now actually revealing how these thoughts like directly impact our mental and physical well-being.
So it's not just some woo-woo self-help concept anymore. There's real science behind it.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Our brains are incredibly complex machines,
Mm.
right? And self-talk is like the programming language that shapes how they operate.
Okay, I like that analogy. So Helmstetter uses a really compelling analogy in the book. He compares the human brain to a computer.
Right, right. It's a classic analogy, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. And he says the subconscious mind is like the software running in the background driving our actions. But here's the catch. A lot of that software is, well, it's outdated.
Oh, absolutely. It's filled with, all that negative self-talk that we've accumulated over the years, especially during childhood.
Yeah, yeah. He makes this really striking point about how as kids we hear no or you can't do that
hmm
way more often than we hear, encouraging messages.
It's true. Think about it. How many times were you told what you couldn't do versus what you could?
Right, right. It's like we're almost conditioned for self-doubt from the get-go. And this negative programming, it can seep into every area of our lives, can it?
It totally can. From our
Uh,
careers to our relationships, everything.
It's like we're unknowingly installing a virus in our mental operating system.
A virus. That's a great way to put it.
But Helmstetter's work, it offers a powerful antidote.
And what's that?
Conscious self-talk. He outlines these 5 levels of self-talk ranging from like harmful negative acceptance all the way up to, this really empowering universal affirmation.
Yeah. So each level, it represents a distinct way that we communicate with ourselves. So it's a journey, right?
A journey of self-discovery through self-talk. I like that. So let's break down these levels a bit. What is negative acceptance exactly?
So negative acceptance is the lowest level, right?
Mm.
And this is where we basically just surrender to those negative thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah.
It's like telling yourself, I'm just not good at this, or I'll never be able to achieve that.
It's that voice of resignation.
Exactly.
So we move up to level 2, which is recognition and need to change. And this is where we at least acknowledge that our negative self-talk is, holding us back.
Right. We're starting to become aware of it.
Yeah, but we haven't quite figured out how to make it happen.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
step in the right direction, but it can feel a bit like being stuck in limbo.
Limbo. Okay. So then comes level 3, which is decision to change.
Ah, this is where things start to get interesting.
Right. This is where we make a conscious choice to actually shift our self-talk. So we start to experiment with positive affirmations and techniques to reprogram our subconscious mind.
It's like we're upgrading our mental software, getting rid of those old bugs and installing a new operating system.
Exactly. But Helmstetter points out that even at this level, we can fall into a trap.
Oh, what's that?
We can fall into the trap of just repeating positive phrases without actually believing them.
Right, right. It's like trying to convince ourselves of something that we're not quite sure about yet.
Exactly. So he uses a brilliant analogy to illustrate this. He says it's like emptying a room of all your old negative furniture,
Okay, I'm picturing it.
but you don't replace it with anything new.
Oh, so you're just left with an empty room.
Right. And what happens, you end up going back and retrieving those old, comfortable, but ultimately dysfunctional pieces because your mental space just feels so empty.
Ah, I see. So it's not enough to just get rid of the negative stuff. We have to replace it with something positive and supportive.
Precisely. So how do we move beyond just repeating those positive phrases and actually start believing them?
That's where we enter level 4, the better you.
The better you. Okay,
Mm.
tell me more.
This is where the real transformation begins. It's about consistently feeding our subconscious minds with positive self-talk, right?
Hmm.
To the point where it actually becomes our default mode of thinking.
So we start to embody the better version of ourselves that we're affirming.
Exactly.
And then there's the final level, right? Level 5, universal affirmation.
Ah, yes. This is the highest level of self-talk, where we tap into the sense of interconnectedness and we recognize our inherent worthiness.
So our self-talk, it extends beyond our individual needs and desires.
It does. It becomes a force for good in the world. It's about aligning our thoughts and actions with a greater purpose.
Wow. So it's like our self-talk becomes this ripple effect, positively impacting not just ourselves, but also those around us.
That's the idea.
Now, Helmstetter acknowledges the value of positive thinking, but he's also quick to point out its limitations.
Oh, absolutely. He's not just a cheerleader for positive thinking. He's a realist.
Yeah. He's like simply trying to think positive without actually addressing the underlying programming is like putting a Band-Aid on a deep wound.
Right. It's not going to heal the wound. It might cover it up temporarily, but it's not a real solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he emphasizes that real change, it involves shifting those deep-seated beliefs in our subconscious. It's about rewiring those neural pathways that have been ingrained over years of negative self-talk.
And that takes time and effort.
It does. And he gives this really incredible example of a smoker using level 3 self-talk, where they repeatedly affirm, "I never smoke."
Oh, interesting. So they're using self-talk to try to quit smoking.
Great. And he suggests that over time, the subconscious mind, it actually catches up aligning their actions with those positive affirmations.
Wow. So the power of repetition.
Exactly. It highlights the power of consistency and repetition in actually reprogramming our minds.
It's like anything else, right? The more we practice, the better we get.
It's true. And this idea of the brain as a computer, I find it so fascinating. It makes me wonder, like, what programs have I unknowingly installed in my own mind? What outdated software might be running in the background holding me back without me even realizing it?
It's a great question. And it's one that we should all be asking ourselves. Because the good news is we have the power to rewrite those programs, to upgrade our mental operating systems, and to create a reality that's more aligned with our true potential.
Okay, that's empowering. But where do we even begin?
Well, let's start by understanding the difference between internal and external motivation. Helmstetter dives into that in the book.
Oh, yeah. He argues that relying solely on external motivators like pep talks or rewards is like building our success on shaky ground.
Exactly. It's like that sports team that depends entirely on the coach for inspiration. When the coach is gone, so is the fire.
So what we need is internal motivation, the kind that comes from within.
Precisely. That's what self-talk cultivates. It's the ability to motivate ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and to achieve our goals from a place of inner strength.
So it's like instead of waiting for someone else to give us a pep talk, we become our own cheerleaders.
Exactly.
I love that. And he brilliantly connects this to the workplace.
Oh, yes. He talks about how crucial it is for managers to understand that true employee performance, it doesn't come from external pressure. It comes from internal motivation.
So it's about empowering people to drive themselves, not just pushing them to meet targets.
Precisely. And he provides compelling evidence for this, citing studies that show employees who are encouraged to practice self-talk and to develop a positive mindset, they are more engaged, more productive, and more resilient.
Wow. So it's not just about feeling good, it's about performing better and achieving greater results.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that inner drive, that inner motivation that leads to sustainable success.
And he even suggests that managers themselves should be trained in self-talk techniques.
Oh, absolutely. They need to lead by example.
Right. So they can create a workplace culture that fosters positivity, self-belief, and a growth mindset.
It's about shifting from a culture of fear and pressure to a culture of encouragement and empowerment.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this all ties together, but let's get back to Helmstetter's examples. You know, what I find remarkable about his work is that he doesn't just stay in the theoretical realm. He dives deep into practical applications.
Oh, he does. He's all about giving people tools that they can actually use in their everyday lives.
Yeah. He shows how self-talk can literally transform various aspects of our lives. Everything from boosting financial success to overcoming obstacles to even enhancing our relationships.
He's got examples for everything. It's incredible.
It is. And he gives this amazing example of a woman who'd been struggling to get a job interview for 2 years. Can you imagine that?
2 years. Wow. That's a long time.
It is. And it turned out her biggest obstacle wasn't a lack of skills or experience. It was her fear of making a simple phone call.
Oh, wow. So it was a mental block.
Exactly. So Helmstetter, he worked with her to use self-talk to break down this seemingly insurmountable task into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay, so what did they do? Did he have her, like, pick up the phone and just start dialing random numbers?
No. He had her start even smaller, just dialing the first digit of the phone number.
Just the first digit?
Yeah. And then the next. and so on.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's almost like tricking your brain into taking action by starting so small that it seems silly not to do it.
Precisely. It's about building momentum, proving to yourself that you can take action, even when fear is holding you back. And eventually, that woman did get her job interview, all thanks to the power of self-talk.
That's such an inspiring story.
It really is. It just highlights the power of changing our self-talk, even in those moments when we feel completely stuck. And it's not just about achieving those big goals, right? It's about those everyday challenges we all face, like dealing with difficult people, managing stress, overcoming
All
procrastination.
those little things that can trip us up.
Helmstetter. He provides a whole toolbox of techniques and strategies to apply self-talk to any situation, big or small.
It's about becoming aware of those negative thought patterns that automatically arise,
Right.
and then consciously choosing to replace them with more positive and empowering affirmations.
Okay. So he introduces these two specific techniques that he calls situational and conversational self-talk. Let's start with situational self-talk. What's that all about?
So situational self-talk is all about using specific phrases in the moment, right, to shift our thinking when we're faced with a challenge.
Okay, so give me an example.
Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You know that feeling.
Oh, yeah, the frustration starts building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of letting it consume you, you can consciously use situational self-talk. You can say something like, I don't mind this delay. I'm using this time to relax and recharge.
Oh, I like that. It's like flipping the script on those automatic negative reactions.
Precisely.
Okay, so what about conversational self-talk? What's that all about?
Conversational self-talk is exactly what it sounds like. It's talking to yourself out loud.
Wait, really? Talking to ourselves out loud, isn't that a little, I don't know.
Freezy.
Yeah, a little
It
crazy.
might sound a little strange at first, but Helmstetter, he argues that by engaging more of our senses in the process, both speaking and hearing the positive affirmations, we can actually make it even more effective.
So it's about immersing ourselves in that positive self-talk.
Exactly, allowing it to penetrate deeper into our subconscious.
Okay. I'm willing to try it. What have I got to lose?
Exactly.
You know, earlier you mentioned how neuroscience is now actually backing up many of Helmstetter's ideas.
Oh yeah, that's the really fascinating part.
So tell me more about that. What kind of research is out there?
Well, recent studies have shown that positive self-talk can actually change the neural pathways in our brains, like literally rewiring them for more positive emotions and behaviors.
So it's not just some feel-good fluff. There's real, tangible evidence that it works.
Exactly. And get this. Research has even suggested that positive self-talk can influence gene expression.
Wow. Gene expression, that's next level. So it's not just about changing our thoughts, it's about impacting our biology.
Precisely. Our thoughts have the power to change us on a cellular level.
Okay, that's mind-blowing. So it's not just about feeling good, it's about actually changing our biology.
Exactly. And here's another fascinating aspect that Helmstetter explores.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's about passing on positive self-talk to the next generation.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. So like how we talk to our kids.
Exactly. He highlights how children, they're constantly absorbing messages from their environment.
Right.
It shapes their beliefs about themselves and the world.
Oh, absolutely. Kids are like sponges.
They are.
Yeah.
And often, even well-intentioned parents and teachers, they unknowingly use language that can actually instill self-doubt in kids.
Oh, I've definitely been guilty of that. Like what kinds of things are we talking about?
It could be seemingly harmless comments like, you're just no good at math, or why can't you be more like your sister?
Oh, wow. Yeah, those kinds of statements, even if they're said casually, they can plant seeds of self-doubt that can grow over time.
They can. It's like programming a computer with faulty code.
That's a powerful analogy. So it sounds like we need to be much more mindful of the language we use around children.
Absolutely. Helmstetter encourages us to be more conscious of the messages we're sending, both to ourselves and to the young people in our lives.
Because we're not just shaping their beliefs, we're shaping their brains.
Exactly. And he believes that by nurturing a positive internal dialogue from a young age, we can equip children with the tools they need to develop strong self-belief and resilience.
It's like giving them a mental toolkit for navigating the challenges of life. I love that. Now, I know we've just scratched the surface of Helmstetter's work here.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to explore.
But before we move on, I want to just pause for a moment and reflect on what we've discussed so far. What are some of the key takeaways that are resonating with you the most?
I'm really struck by the power of our thoughts, like literally how they can change our brains and our bodies.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. And what are some areas where you might be inspired to experiment with self-talk in your own life?
Hmm. Well, definitely in terms of managing stress. I think that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, it's procrastination. I'm always putting things off, and I think self-talk could really help me overcome that.
I can see that.
So, for everyone listening, we encourage you to take a moment and think about this too. What are some areas where you could start using self-talk to create positive change in your life?
It's worth a try. You might be surprised by the results.
It really is. It makes you realize that we all have this incredible power within us to shape our own reality.
We do. It's just a matter of tapping into it.
And speaking of rewiring, Helmstetter dives into some really interesting applications of self-talk, like how it can help us achieve greater financial success.
Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people.
It is. And we all know there's no magic formula for getting rich quick, but Helmstetter, he argues that our beliefs about money, and especially our own self-worth, they play a huge role in our financial outcomes.
Oh, absolutely. Our beliefs shape our reality.
Right. And he points out this really interesting thing. He's like, a lot of people, they try to figure out how to earn more money before they even believe they deserve it.
Oh, that's so true. It's like trying to build a house without a solid foundation.
Exactly. So he suggests that instead of obsessing over those, get-rich-quick schemes, we use self-talk to actually shift our internal beliefs about money.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, what's fascinating here is that he emphasizes starting with our self-worth,
Self-worth. Okay.
like affirming that we are worthy of financial abundance.
So it's not about like, I need to make more money.
Right. It's more like, I am capable and deserving of financial abundance.
I see. So it's about shifting the focus from lack to potential.
Exactly. And the idea is that when we genuinely believe we're capable of attracting wealth, our subconscious mind, it starts working in alignment with that belief.
So it helps us identify opportunities and make decisions that support our financial goals.
Precisely.
I like that.
Me too. Another area where I personally struggle is procrastination.
Oh, procrastination. The universal struggle.
It is. Do you think self-talk could help with that?
Helmstetter absolutely believes so. He actually dedicates a whole section to overcoming obstacles in the book.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and he emphasizes that problems, they're not our enemies.
Okay.
They're opportunities for growth and learning.
Ooh, I love that perspective shift.
It's a good one, right?
It is.
So he suggests using self-talk to actually reframe how we see those obstacles, like viewing them as stepping stones rather than roadblocks.
Okay. I like that. So instead of getting discouraged, we use self-talk to motivate ourselves to keep moving forward.
Exactly. And he has this incredible example, again, of a woman who was struggling to even get a job interview for 2 years. Can you imagine that?
2 years, wow. What was holding her back?
It turns out her biggest obstacle wasn't a lack of skills or experience.
Okay.
It was her crippling fear of making phone calls.
Really? Just making phone calls?
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Wow. That's intense.
So Helmstetter, he worked with her to use self-talk to break down this seemingly insurmountable task into these tiny little steps.
Like, what? Did he have her just pick up the phone and start dialing random numbers?
He actually had her start even smaller, just dialing the first digit of the phone number.
Just digit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next, and so on. It's about proving to yourself that you can take action, even when fear is holding you back. And eventually, that woman, she did get her job interview. All thanks to the power of self-talk.
That's incredible.
It is.
It really shows you how powerful these seemingly small shifts in our thinking can be.
They can be huge.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned how neuroscience is now backing up many of Helmstetter's ideas.
Oh, yeah. That's the really cool part.
So can you tell me more about that? Like, what kind of research is out there?
Well, recent studies, they've shown that positive self-talk can actually change the neural pathways in our brains, literally rewiring them for more positive emotions and behaviors. And get this, research has even suggested that positive self-talk can influence gene expression.
Wait, gene expression?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Pretty amazing, right?
That's mind-blowing. So it's not just about feeling good, it's about actually changing our biology.
Precisely. Our thoughts have the power to change us on a cellular level.
Okay. That's incredible.
It is. And here's another fascinating aspect that Helmstetter explores: passing on positive self-talk to the next generation.
Oh, you mean like how we talk to our kids?
Exactly. He highlights how children, they constantly absorb messages from their environment, shaping their beliefs about themselves and the world.
Oh, absolutely. Kids are like sponges, right?
They are. And often, even well-intentioned parents and teachers, they unknowingly use language that can instill self-doubt in kids.
Oh, yeah. Like, what kinds of things are we talking about?
It could be seemingly harmless comments like, "You're just no good at math," or "Why can't you be more like your sister?"
Wow. Those kinds of statements, even if they're said casually, they can really plant those seeds of self-doubt.
They can. It's like programming a computer with faulty code.
Right, right. So it sounds like we need to be way more mindful of the language we use around children.
We do. Helmstetter encourages us to be more conscious of the messages we're sending, both to ourselves and to the young people in our lives.
Because we're not just shaping their beliefs, we're literally shaping their brains.
Exactly. And he believes that by nurturing a positive internal dialogue from a young age, we can equip children with the tools they need to develop strong self-belief and resilience.
It's like giving them a mental toolkit for navigating the challenges of life. I love that. I find it really interesting how Helmstetter applies these ideas to the workplace, especially when it comes to leadership.
He's actually quite critical of the traditional carrot and stick approach to motivation.
Hmm.
He argues that relying solely on external incentives like bonuses or punishments, it often leads to short-lived results.
Right. It's like trying to force a plant to grow by constantly prodding and poking it.
Exactly.
It might show some temporary growth, but it's not going to thrive in the long run.
What he advocates for is a more holistic approach, one that focuses on nurturing employees' self-belief and fostering a culture of positive self-talk.
Okay, so it's about creating a work environment where people feel valued, respected, and capable of reaching their full potential.
Precisely. And he even suggests that managers should be trained in self-talk techniques so they can lead by example and inspire their teams to embrace a more positive and empowering mindset.
That's such a refreshing perspective on leadership. One thing that really struck me in the book was his skepticism towards subliminal messaging as a tool for self-improvement.
Ah, yes, subliminal messaging. He acknowledges that there's been a lot of hype around these subliminal techniques, but he expresses concerns about both the ethics and effectiveness of these methods.
Yeah, it's like trying to sneak in the back door of our own minds without our conscious awareness.
He's not dismissing the power of the subconscious altogether. He's simply advocating for a more conscious and deliberate approach to self-programming.
Okay, so it's about taking ownership of our thoughts and beliefs rather than passively absorbing messages that may not be aligned with our best interests.
And in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with information and external influences, that's a really powerful message.
It is. It's about reclaiming our mental sovereignty, choosing the thoughts and beliefs that empower us to live our best lives. Speaking of empowerment, Helmstetter also talks about using self-talk to enhance academic performance. And it's not just about, like, cramming facts into our brains.
No, he emphasizes that it's about cultivating a mindset and habits that support effective learning, like using self-talk to improve concentration, boost memory, manage test anxiety.
So it's like giving yourself a mental pep talk before stepping into that exam hall.
Exactly. It's about replacing self-doubt with affirmations of competence and capability. And it's not just about acing exams. It's about developing a lifelong love of learning.
I love that. Another area where self-talk can be incredibly helpful is in combating loneliness and depression.
Of course, if someone's experiencing severe depression, seeking professional help is crucial. But for those times when we're feeling down or disconnected, Helmstetter suggests using self-talk to kind of shift our perspective and cultivate a more positive internal dialogue.
Okay, so instead of dwelling on those negative self-critical thoughts, it's about consciously choosing to focus on affirmations of self-worth and self-compassion.
Precisely. He reminds us that we have the power to choose how we perceive our circumstances. We can either dwell in darkness and despair, or we can consciously choose to focus on those glimmers of hope and possibility.
It's like turning on a light in a dark room.
Exactly. It doesn't magically erase the darkness, but it illuminates the path forward. Now, towards the end of the book, Helmstetter tackles a really big question: to change or not to change?
Ah, the ultimate existential dilemma, right?
It is.
He acknowledges that change can be challenging. It requires effort, commitment, stepping outside of our comfort zones.
But he argues that the rewards of personal growth and self-improvement, they far outweigh the discomfort of staying stuck.
Yeah, I can see that.
So he presents these three categories of people: those who resist change, those who embrace it, and those who just kind of drift along without making a conscious choice.
That drifting category, that really resonates with me. There have been times in my life where I felt like I was just going through the motions.
Helmstetter. He offers a gentle nudge to those of us who find ourselves in that drifting category. He encourages us to wake up, take the wheel, and reclaim our agency.
So it's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our path.
We do. We can either cling to the familiar, even if it's no longer serving us, or we can step into the unknown and embrace the possibilities that lie ahead.
And he emphasizes that the decision to change, it's a personal one.
It is. No one can force us to transform our lives.
Right.
But he offers a powerful reminder. If we don't like the direction we're heading in, we have the power to change course.
That's a good reminder.
It is. And he doesn't just leave us with abstract concepts. He actually provides some really practical guidance on how to put self-talk into action.
Okay, I like that. So what are some of his suggestions?
He suggests starting by becoming more aware of our existing self-talk patterns. Pay attention to those automatic thoughts that pop into our heads throughout the day. Are they predominantly positive or negative? Are they empowering or limiting?
Okay, so step one is awareness. Got it. Then what?
Once we become aware of those patterns, he challenges us to start replacing those negative self-talk patterns with more positive and affirming statements.
So it's about consciously choosing different thoughts.
Exactly. And he encourages us to create these personalized self-talk scripts that address specific areas where we'd like to see improvement.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like tailoring our self-talk to our specific goals.
And here's a great tip.
Yeah.
He even suggests recording those scripts and listening to them regularly, allowing those positive affirmations to seep into our subconscious minds.
It's almost like creating our own personalized motivational podcast.
Exactly.
I love that. And he offers another great suggestion, combining self-talk with music.
Oh, yeah. Music is so powerful.
It is. He explains that certain types of music can actually enhance our emotional state and receptivity, making it easier for those positive affirmations to take root.
It's about creating a multi-sensory experience that engages both our minds and our hearts.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Helmstetter's work, let's pause for a moment and reflect. What are some of the key takeaways that are resonating with you the most? And what are some areas where you might be inspired to experiment with self-talk in your own life?
For me, it's the power of repetition, like really driving those positive messages home until they become a part of who we are.
Yeah, that's huge. Consistency is key. And for me, it's the idea of being more mindful of the language I use, not just with myself, but also with the people around me, especially children.
Absolutely. Words have so much power.
They do. And I think Helmstetter's work is a powerful reminder that we can use that power to create a more positive and fulfilling reality for ourselves and for those around us. As we wrap up our deep dive into Shad Helmstetter's work, what really strikes me is that it's not just about achieving specific outcomes,
Right.
like getting a promotion or buying a house. It's something much deeper than that.
It is. It's about, I think, reclaiming our inner power.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we have the ability to choose our thoughts, our beliefs,
And ultimately our destiny.
our destiny. Helmstetter really drives home the point that we're not just passive recipients of our circumstances.
Right.
We're active creators of our reality.
And are.
And that's both incredibly empowering and a little daunting, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's empowering because it means we're not victims of our past conditioning. We have the ability to rewrite those old scripts, break free from those limiting beliefs,
Right.
and step into a future that aligns with our truest selves.
I love that. But it's also daunting because it means we're responsible for the
Mhm.
choices we make, the thoughts we cultivate, and the reality we create.
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a call to conscious living, to becoming aware of those inner voices that are constantly shaping our perceptions and influencing our actions.
Exactly. And that's precisely where self-talk becomes such a valuable tool, right?
It is, yeah.
It's about developing that conscious awareness of our internal dialogue and making a deliberate choice to replace those negative, self-defeating thoughts with positive, empowering affirmations.
It's like we're training a mental muscle.
Ooh, I like that.
The more we practice self-talk, the stronger that mental fitness becomes.
Yeah.
We develop greater resilience in the face of challenges, greater confidence in our abilities,
Right.
a deeper sense of self-worth.
And the beauty of it is that it's a skill anyone can develop.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't require any special talent or expertise. It simply requires a willingness to pay attention to those inner voices and make a conscious effort to shift the conversation.
Just be willing to do the work.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with a few questions to ponder.
Okay.
What kind of program are you currently running in your mental computer? Are those thoughts and beliefs serving you well, or are they holding you back?
That's a good question. And what kind of program would you like to install? What kind of reality do you want to create for yourself?
Hmm.
Remember, you have the power to choose. You have the power to rewrite your story.
And self-talk is the key to unlocking that potential.
It is.
It's about becoming the author of your own life, crafting a narrative filled with hope, possibility, and unwavering self-belief.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep talking to yourself in the most empowering way possible.